Shalom, shalom. Giving our honor, glory, and praises to the Heavenly Father above and the Lashwan Kodash, which is the Holy Hebrew tongue, by saying, Call, Halalayim, La Yahweh, Alahaynawa, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ha, Rakakadash, Mama. Double honors to the elders, apostles, a great millstone who rule well and teach well. I want to give another double honors to my elder apostle as well. Here, one of the Lions Den, the Yashala camp as well. Peace and blessings, salutations to Al Akim, Atwati, Mebanio. Brothers, sisters, and children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of this earth. Before I play this quick clip, this is a copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Okay. So, as you see in this video, he has titled, Iran wiped out, regime remnants dig in as Trump launches round the clock strikes, right? Trump's boasting his heart's desire to go around and bomb these other countries, all right? Having plans of going into Greenland, going into Gaza, all right? And we see right now, is prophecy being fulfilled, where the least of the flock shall draw them out. Okay, these small wars are becoming world wars. You see Iran saying their military, as this clip is going to state, their military is no longer controlled individually, but that means it's being controlled and maintained through other nations. All right, Russia becoming a guard unto them, China. All right, so this clip is going to get very interesting, man. I might want to start it from the beginning, but I'm gonna just let you. I'm gonna start it back. I'm gonna just play this first part real quick.
To strike America. No, it's also about disabling and taking away the power of America's enemies. And look at this. China is very upset because who do they buy illegal sanctioned oil from? They buy it from Iran. China was buying oil from Iran and from Venezuela, and now.
And this ain't gonna do nothing but cause, a whole nother economic downturn, and economic war. Okay, and prices are going to skyrocket, to fund these wars. All right, so there's going to be a lot going on.
Now those two options are off the table, revealing that there is a lot more at play in this operation than most people are even being told.
We're going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated.
A couple of things. Obviously, this operation was planned to begin at night, but given the opportunity that these leaders were meeting, the Israelis contacted the Americans and said, we have a real opportunity here. Even though it's Shabbat Saturday, normally they don't do things like this on a Saturday. It was Ramadan. We really have an opportunity to achieve something they wanted all along, which is the degree of tactical surprise. And they were able to achieve that. And what a way to begin an operation, by taking down the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, and also 40 of his cohorts.
All right, let's start this thing back. And this is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. It says, to everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rent and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. And right now we are in Salakia, a time of war. Okay. Scriptures say when they shall say peace, suddenly destruction shall come upon them. Man. All right, peace and safety. Okay. But let's play this clip.
Concentrate fire on the target. Enemy battleship sunk.
Imploded. That country's regime is learning what happens when you pursue nuclear weapons and threaten the entire world. And as the United States and Israel dismantle the military capabilities of this dictatorship, the great people of Iran now have the opportunity to take back their country and determine their own future, which the regime here is still trying to hold on to as they refuse to surrender.
On the second day of this joint U.S.-Israeli war on Iran, Israeli jets pounded what Israeli officials described as military targets in central Tehran. Two officials with direct knowledge of current intelligence tell NBC News the Iranian government no longer controls all of its military.
This was a massive, wildly bold daytime attack. It caught the senior leader.
The Iranian government no longer control all of its military.
Leadership off guard on a Saturday morning during Ramadan and on Shabbat in the daytime. We hit the senior leaders right out of the gate.
Today's military strikes by the United States and Israel mark a catastrophic escalation in an illegal act of war, of aggression.
Mr. Mamdani, I know maybe you and many other people, they hate President Trump, but believe me, this is not the right time to shift your hatred and your anger from President Trump to the people of Iran. Innocent people.
By the way, the Europeans sitting this one out. In fact, the UK, as well as France, says don't use our bases. I don't think this administration is going to forget that.
When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass.
So if you wanted proof this is not going to turn into a long, drawn-out conflict, look at this. Iran's supreme leader was being tracked for months, and the U.S. and Israel immediately went after Iran's leadership and high-value targets first. And what nobody's talking about is even if this regime does decide to retaliate and dig in, it's not going to change a thing. And even though Iran has already appointed a new supreme leader, President Trump has promised round-the-clock strikes until the regime surrenders. And this regime was already the weakest it's ever been before this operation started. Prior to any bombs being dropped, their currency had collapsed. People had been protesting in the streets for months, and now their government and military are in complete shambles. On top of that, over a year ago, when Iran's nuclear program was wiped out, the U.S. and Israel already saw what retaliation looked like, and the regime was stronger then than they were before this operation started, and the conflict over there might not take as long as some people think. Because the United States did not get into this conflict with any plans of invading Iran or occupying it, and as U.S. and Israeli missiles and air power take down the regime's offensive capabilities once and for all, the invasion force required to reclaim this great country is already inside of it on its streets, celebrating in many cases the fact that their leaders who do not represent them are no longer in charge. And that brings us to the real reason this whole operation kicked off as suddenly as it had. These talks and negotiations with this regime had completely failed, and everyone knew it. Iran's leaders refused to even acknowledge the need to give up their nuclear program and offensive ballistic missiles, both of which they were working on secretly while dragging out a diplomatic process doomed to never succeed. But by refusing to cooperate, the regime may have done the world a favor because they were not negotiating with a U.S. president who wanted to see them stay in power for generations. And everyone knows that the bad faith tactics they've used in the past meant that any deal they would agree to in the near future would definitely be broken, totally eliminating once again the future prosperity of the people of Iran.
What if starting a dropshipping business didn't feel so?
So, as you heard it, man, you know, we are in the time of prophecy, man. And this is Nahum 3:12. It says, all thy strongholds shall be like fig trees with the first ripe figs. If they be shaken, Shaken meaning attack, they shall even fall into the mouth of the eater. So whoever come up against to devour them, the Lord will make those oppressed nations win against the oppressor. All right. As you see, the weak are saying they are strong now. All right. And all the strongholds are their military bases, man. Okay.
Complicated anymore. With AutoDS, everything works in just a few clicks. You import products.
So those are students reacting to military operations against their leadership. Now, let me ask you a question. Where do students get their beliefs from? They get them from their parents. They get them from their community. And it's never happened before in world history where a population of free people who love and adore their leadership react like this when that leadership engages in conflict with a hostile foreign power. This is not the reaction of a population who felt that their leadership represented them. This is not the reaction of a population who feels they're under attack. They feel like they are being rescued. This is a rescue mission for the people of Iran, and they know it. But you know who doesn't know it?
Today's military strikes by the United States and Israel mark a catastrophic escalation in an illegal act of war, of aggression.
The only way you can think like this is if you believe that the regime in Iran was a legitimate government that represented all of the people there and their interests, and that when the regime is attacked, the people dancing and celebrating on the streets actually don't believe that. They actually believe that they themselves are in jeopardy somehow, which reveals the best way to be on the wrong side of history is to not understand it.
I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. I live in New York, Mr. Mamdani. You are more than welcome to come to one of my safe house. I know maybe you and many other people, they hate President Trump, but believe me, this is not the right time to shift your hatred and your anger from President Trump to the people of Iran, innocent people.
It's so crazy. It's like the people that despise America's president will align themselves with one of the most evil regime dictatorships in history, which already does not exist and has completely collapsed, just to stand against a president they don't like. Isn't that fascinating? Meanwhile, we've got an entire country of people here who, for the first time in half a century, have prosperity on the horizon. This never would have happened just a few years ago. It was an impossibility, but today it looks like it's going to be a reality. And you've got to ask yourself something as you watch this video coming out of Iran right now. If you were living in a country and felt that it was under attack and that your life was going to be worse in the near future, why would you react like this? That just wouldn't make sense. This is the distinction that people meandering about a long, drawn-out conflict just don't seem to understand, because every single person in Iran's military has a friend, a relative, or a family member who's happy things are changing for the better. And that's got to make you wonder how effective Iran's military can actually be in a situation like this when they aren't being propped up and sustained by leaders who wish to appease them.
The contrast in leadership could not be more clear. Barack Obama and Joe Biden sent pallets of cash, American taxpayer dollars, in a failed attempt to buy the Iranian regime's compliance with a weak and ineffective deal.
And that brings us to another very important point. Appeasing Iran does nothing for world peace and world stability. And if you appease Iran, since it's part of the puppet state sanctions evading apparatus of Russia and China, you also appease Russia and China, who are waging wars in places like Ukraine, and that is a disaster.
Almost everything that he's doing that seems herky-jerky has an ultimate strategic purpose to diminish the power of the Chinese and to turn Russia and China against each other, and to have a cultural revolution, counter-revolution in the United States that makes our adversaries think that we are serious and dangerous, whether it's closing the border or having immigration reform or...
Right. So this entire operation, it's not just about liberating people who've been trapped in their own country for 50 years. It's not just about stopping a dangerous regime from being able to strike America. No, it's also about disabling and taking away the power of America's enemies. And look at this. China is very upset because Who do they buy illegal sanctioned oil from? They buy it from Iran. China was buying oil from Iran and from Venezuela, and now those two options are off the table.
See, everything they're saying Trump has done is pretty much backfired on him. But what these nations don't understand, that this is the Lord's judgment, man. You know, this is Jeremiah 50 and 43. It says, the king of Babylon, you know, which is aka the president today, have heard the report of them, and his hands wax feeble. All right, hands wax feeble mean running out of options. All right, his hands represent his power. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs as of a woman in travail. All right, and that's what you're going to see happen once these missiles get shot off, man. Once they get launched from these other nations, World War III. Okay, this sinful kingdom, all right, get broken down. This is Isaiah 47 and 5. It says, sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the lady of kingdoms. All right, which is aka Babylon today, America. Okay, let's play this clip.
Feeling that there is a lot more at play in this operation than most people are even being told.
We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated.
A couple of things. Obviously, this operation was planned to begin at night, but given the opportunity that these leaders were meeting, the Israelis contacted the Americans and said, we have a real opportunity here. Even though it's Shabbat Saturday, normally they don't do things like this on a Saturday. It was Ramadan. We really have an opportunity to achieve something they wanted all along, which is the degree of tactical surprise. And they were able to achieve that. And what a way to begin an operation, by taking down the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, and also 40 of his cohorts. Listen, the Israelis have started something here that's new to warfare. Warfare is fundamentally a test of wills. And you're using force to break your opponent's will. And the sooner you can do it, the better you do it, the better it is. And this is the third time they've done this. They did it with Hezbollah, decapitating their leaders. Hezbollah never recovered from that. Even though they have thousands of missiles, they never fired one of them in support of Iran during Israel's 12-day war against the Iranians. When I asked the general, why haven't they used those missiles, an Israeli general, he said, sir, we have broken their will.
This is a fascinating take on what's going on, because if you look at the way things are working in Iran right now, the leadership of that country, the command and control structure that tells everybody what to do, it's not there anymore. So if you're an Iranian military operations manager at, let's say, a missile base or something, and you launch some missiles at a pre-planned target or list of targets, well, now what do you do after that happens? Do you wait around in that piece of infrastructure for it to be targeted by an airstrike? Do you leave? Do you abandon your post? And if you make a phone call and you call your bosses and ask them what to do, nobody's going to answer the phone. So this regime's ability to retaliate, it's limited. It's on borrowed time. And this cannot be a long drawn out conflict at all. At the exact same time, we've got the Iranian people in the streets who've been in the streets for months, friends, family members, relatives of these very service members that are supposed to what? Fight for a regime that has been oppressing their country for a very long time, that is not very popular at all, and now won't even answer the phone. Think about that.
And that's the reality. And here we're repeating it again. During the 12-day war, remember, they took down the senior military leaders and the nuclear scientists. An Israeli debriefer indicated to me that impacted 60% of Iran's capability to retaliate against Israel during that 12-day war.
Yeah.
Decapitating the leadership and the command and control, the disruption that something like that has caused. And here we are seeing this again, and executed so brilliantly in what it's achieving.
You can't wage an organized, modern...
Listen, it's called Connect Team, and it's insane. I don't do schedules or timesheets manually anymore.
And it works?
Oh, like you would have.
This is what he's about to say.
Conventional conflict without leadership. That just doesn't.
This is Job 20 and 22. It says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, all right, fullness going into his abundance, all right, which we see these elites are in right now. They're in their abundance of all the wealth, land, resources. All right, they got the fatness of the earth. Okay. It says, in the fullness of his efficiency, he shall be in straits. All right. Be distressed, be in straits because, or be vexed. It says, every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. All right. So all these other nations. It says, when he is about to fill his belly, verse 23, the Most High, Yahweh Bashim Shai, shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. All right, that's them ICBMs. All right, the nuclear missiles. All right, like it says, Amos 5:24, but let judgment run down as waters and righteousness as a mighty stream. All right, that judgment raining down is those ICBMs looking like rain and fiery brimstone. Okay. Let's get some more of these scriptures. This is Revelations 11:15. It says, and the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdom of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his anointed, and he shall reign forever and ever. All right, and that's what's going to get ready to happen here real soon, man. All right, this from like it says in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 10, verse 8. All right, because of injuries and riches got by deceit, all right, etc., etc., the kingdom is translated from one people to another. Okay, like it tells us in Daniel 7:18, 7 and verse 18, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Okay, so Esau's kingdom is getting ready to come to an end, man. All right, it was already prophesied that Esau's the end of this age, the end of this rulership, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, man. All right, the Lord is getting ready to raise up his people. All right, so this is his will to muster the host of the battle, to rile these nations up, to bring them into the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, the Lord's judgment. All right, to show that he ruleth in the kingdom of men. Okay, this is let me get this. Let the heathen be wakened. This is Joel chapter 3. I'm gonna start at verse 12. It says, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. All right, dealing with this war over there in the Middle East. Okay, how Iran and their allies eventually, Russia, China, etc., getting involved to be at war with America. Okay, so while everybody in La La Land playing around counting slackness concerning the Lord's judgment, the Lord is bringing his prophecy to pass. All right, playing chess, not checkers. Okay, and one of his prophecies is nuclear destruction in the midst of World War III. This is Proverbs 22:3. It says, "The prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished." All right, the prudent, the wise man, he listened to the words of Yahweh Bashim Shai, all right, which is the spirit of prophecy and truth. All right, and he hid himself under the banner and shadow of the Almighty. All right, the Lord is our hiding place. Okay, Proverbs 18:10. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run up into it and is safe. All right, Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 3. It says, "Seek ye the Lord, all ye meek of the earth, which shall wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger." All right, because what we're witnessing is a buildup of the Lord's anger. All right, to pour down his indignation all right, which is fiery wrath, all right, upon this sinful kingdom. Let's get it. This is Amos chapter 9. I'm gonna start at verse 8. It says, "Behold, the eyes of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai, are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Lord," right? The elect, all right? "For lo, I will command and sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as corn is sifted in the sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth." All right, so he's going to preserve that remnant, all right, and 144,000, all right, but the 2/3 and these heathens about to feel the Lord's wrath and indignation. All right, like it tells us, thou shalt cast them into a fiery oven. This is Psalm chapter 21, verse 9. I'm going to start at verse 8. It says, "Thine hand shall, thy right hand shall find out those that hate thee. Thou shalt make them as a fiery oven in a time of thine anger. The Lord shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them." Okay? So all these scoffers, mockers, all right, and the ones that are against the Lord, they're going to feel that wrath, man. And it tells us he have sharpened his wrath. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5. Let's go there real quick. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 20. It says, "His severe wrath shall he sharpen for a sword." All right, and like it tells us in Isaiah, "His sword shall be bathed in heaven and shall come upon Adumia," which is the Greek way of saying Edom. All right, Esau, Edom, and upon the people of his curse, the judgment, which are the 2/3. "His severe wrath shall he sharpen for a sword, and the world shall fight with him against the unwise. Then shall the right aiming thunderbolts go abroad, and from the clouds, as from a well-drawn bow, shall they flee to the mark." All right. And all those missiles are going to hit their mark. All right, like it tells us in Isaiah 9 and 5. "For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire." Let's go to Revelations 11 and 14. It says the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And that's what we're witnessing, World War III. All right, the buildup of World War III, man. World War. Okay. Let's get back into these scriptures. So this is Habakkuk chapter 2. I'm gonna start at verse 3. It says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry." All right. So, all right, these prophecies are for an appointed time. All right, and they're going to happen. The Lord said, "None of his words shall return unto him void, and that which he has spoken shall accomplish in a place whereto he have sent it." All right, so let's get this right here. This is Isaiah 47 and 10. It says, "For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, None seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it have perverted thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it ariseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Okay, so all the wickedness is their business, their democracy, the dollar bill, all right, their kingdom built off covetousness, greed, transgression, robbing, stealing, unaliving, and they became prideful in that. Proverbs 10:15, the rich man's wealth is his strong city, the destruction of the poor is their poverty. All right, so this whole society was built off corruption and oppression, and that is how it's going to go down. All right, this is Habakkuk 2. I'm going to start at verse 5. It says, yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine. All right, the transgress means to continually sin. It says he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. And that wine is their democracy, their dollar, their military, banking, and religious systems, and their dominance, conquering the other nations. So he's a proud man. It says neither keepeth at home. All right, setting up his military bases everywhere. What he's saying, we're gonna bomb this place, we're gonna go here, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. All right, so he enlargeth his desire as hell. All right, because they have a capitalist mindset, and they say none else beside me. They gotta constantly devour and dominate. All right, that's why they tell us in John 10:10, the thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. But I am come that they might have life. All right, Yahweh Shai. All right, the believers of Yahweh Shai, and that they might have it more abundantly. Okay. But I'm going to quote this scripture once again from earlier, Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 8. It says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. All right, and that's what we're going to that's what's going to happen, man. Habakkuk 2:8, it says, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. So all the nations that this devil and his sinful kingdom has spoiled are going to come together and spoil this place, man. All right, and that's why you see, the BRICS alliances forming together, turn this place to a third world country. All right, and that's Revelations, the 17th chapter, man. All right, what's going to bring the downfall of this kingdom? This is Habakkuk 2:9. It says, woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. All right, so this empire that that this devil's building won't be delivered out nor from the Lord's judgment, man. All right, like we read in the book of Job 20:23, when he's about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fear of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. All right, because the end goal of this devil's agenda is to set up that NWO. All right, Revelations 13:16. Okay, so while he's doing that, trying to put that idol in the Lord's people, that bad, get them that badge of servitude, the Lord is going to cast his fury upon them, man. Okay, and it says back in the book of Job 20:24, he shall flee from the iron weapon, right? Like his plan is to go into all these underground bunkers and all that. It says, and a bow of steel shall strike him through. It is drawn and cometh out of the body. Yea, the glistering sword cometh out of his gall. Terrors are upon him. Okay, so right when he's devouring, all right, that judgment is going to come right upon him. As soon as this devil go with his move, All right, and like it tells us in the book of Obadiah 1 and 9, and thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed. All right, which is the wise men of Esau, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. All right. Ezekiel 38 and 7, it says, be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. I prepared Russia and the kings of the east, which are going against the west. So nations like Russia and China, preparing these nations through defense technology and ICBM missiles. You know, thou and all thy company, all the nations joining with Russia and China in a protection treaty, being able to protect themselves by peace treaty and be protected by other nations within a peace treaty and be prepared to respond to an attack. Okay? Because Esau's goal is to take peace from the earth. All right, like it tells us in Revelation 6 and 3, it says, and when he opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given to him a great sword. All right, and Esau's blessing was the sword back in the book of Genesis. All right, and that's why the Lord tells us in Revelations 12 and 12, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. All right, because soon as he going to try to set up this agenda, the Lord is going to deliver his elect, man. All right, Revelation 7. I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, and after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds. All right, the winds, the 4 winds, east, west, north, east, west, and south. All right, and the wind represent that destruction. All right, that the Lord is going to bring. All right, the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel, Jeremiah 51. The Lord is going to raise up a destroying wind. All right, it says, and I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living power. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. All right, that's the elect, 144,000. It says, and I heard the number of them which were sealed, and they were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. All right, 12,000 from each tribe. All right, back in Revelations 9 and 4. And it was commanded that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have the seal, which have not the seal of the Most High in their foreheads. All right, so whoever don't have that mark of exemption upon them when the Lord shows up, all right, they don't have that seal. They're not part of the elect or the remnant. All right, that destroying wind is going to come upon them, man. All right, this is Revelation 11 and 12. It says, and they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in the cloud, and their enemies beheld them. And the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell. And in the earthquake was slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the Most High of heaven, to the God of heaven. All right, 7 represent completion. All right, that's going to be thousands, man. All right, and the remnant, you know, they're going to give glory because, you know, they're going to be delivered. And they're going to be affrighted because the destruction is going to be very devastating, man. You know? But the Lord tell them what? Isaiah 26 and 20. In those times, when he's getting ready to deliver them from their chains of darkness, all right, into those new bodies, you know, those heavenly bodies. It says, come, my people, enter down to thy chambers. all right, which is another room for an apartment. All right, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself, as it were, for a little moment until the indignation be overpassed. All right. But those chambers are the chariots. All right. So when the Lord send his angels to gather his elect from the north, east, west, south, wherever they are scattered, as it tells us in the book of Matthew, all right, they're going to enter into those chambers and they're going to be protected until his indignation be overpassed. So while those missiles are coming down, raining upon earth, the elect are being beamed up into those chariots. All right, it says, verse 21, for behold, the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. Let's get it. This is Matthew 24, verse 29. It says, immediately after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man, which is Yahushua, coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. All right. Right into those chambers, man, until the indignation be overpassed. Okay. So what we're witnessing is the Lord's judgment to rouse these nations up. Let me get it actually. You know, like he tells us in the book of Zechariah, chapter 3. Zephaniah. I know it's either one of them. Zephaniah, chapter 3. Verse 8. This is Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 8. It says, therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. All right, because of what they're trying to do. All right, with the NWO. All right. And the Lord is not a man that he shall lie. Okay, this is Isaiah chapter 13, verse 4. It says, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the hosts of the battle. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord and the weapons of his indignation, to destroy the whole land. Howl ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Okay. Jeremiah 51:1, it says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh by Shemel Shai, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me, a destroying wind, and will send unto Babylon fanners, which are our enemies, that shall fan her and shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble, they shall be against her round about. All right, as you seeing right now. Isaiah 34:1, it says, come near ye nations to hear, and hearken ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He have utterly destroyed them. He have delivered them to the slaughter. See, it's already written. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood, and the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. You know, that big mushroom cloud. And all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. All right, so this spiritual land built by Edom. All right, Idumea, man. Okay. That's what's gonna take part on the Lord's judgment. All right. Isaiah 54:16, he said, Behold, I have created the smith that blew up the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy. All right, so that's those nuclear missiles, man. He created the scientists that split the atoms and the bombs. All right, the smith that blew up the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, right? And he have created the waster, all right, those ICBMs. He said he's going to sweep the earth with the beast of destruction. All right, merely paraphrasing. All right, but he shall sweep it with the beast of destruction, man. Okay. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 11. It says, The Lord shall threaten who shall not be utterly beaten to powder at his presence. Verse 13, For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. All right. Let's play some more of this clip.
Doesn't happen. A military needs a goal. It needs an objective. You can't just have every man for themselves out there wondering what they're supposed to do next, making up their own plans. That falls apart, especially when the adversary in this case has intelligence, air superiority, eyes in the sky, eyes on the ground, spies within the country. You've got total coordination on one end, and you've got total chaos on the other end. And on the other end, remember, you've got protests. You've got an economy that's already collapsed. You've got people that want freedom. This is not sustainable for the Iranian regime. Doesn't matter that they've appointed a new leader. Doesn't matter that they've got somebody out there who says, we're never going to give up. This thing right here, it has to give up.
They're going to take advantage of that and work on the entire infrastructure that sustains the regime, the political infrastructure, legislature, the National Security Council, other agencies, and then the security and military infrastructure that sustains this regime. They're going to take it apart systematically and deliberately, etc., to decapitate their hardware and their could last 2 to 3 weeks, but if this regime capitulates, in a sense, gives up, it could happen a lot sooner.
And you know something? That's what the U.S. is angling for here, because every time President Trump has come out and addressed this situation, he's always said, look, if you're in the Iranian military, lay down your arms, surrender peacefully, give up, and you'll be given total immunity. He's giving people a way out to say, look, I can flee this collapsing establishment over here. I don't have to lay it all down and stick with these guys until the end. I can flee. I can join the rest of my country in calling for their replacement, as we'll call it, and nothing's going to happen to me. This gives people who might be manning some post or some missile battery somewhere the ability to say, you know what, I was just following orders. I was just doing what I thought was my job. And you know what? I am totally willing to walk away. And that's already happening. To think that the entire Iranian military is loyal during this situation is a foolish way to think. There is definitely not unity here from the Iranians, especially now that their command and control structure no longer exists and is able to tell people what to do. There is no repercussion for disobeying orders that don't come from anyone when you call and nobody picks up the phone.
I've been told by a couple of senior officials there are various off-ramps depending on what they see conditions on the ground. I want to put up this map of Iran's retaliatory strikes so far. Not surprising that obviously Israel, a major target here with many missiles, that a lot of them have been taken out by the defenses. But what's surprising, I think, is some of the civilian targets in the Gulf Arab neighbors. And we'll put up some video of some of these strikes.
What kind of retaliation is this? Iran gets attacked in a surprise operation by the United States and Israel, and they fire off a bunch of missiles into their neighbors' countries, hitting not military targets, but civilian targets, sadly, in these countries. All that does is show you how isolated this regime wants to be. These guys are not the friend of anybody in the Middle East. They are not somehow representative of the majority of thinking in the Middle East at all. They're attacking people who had nothing to do with this operation as some sort of last grasp of power projection before this whole regime implodes on itself. And remember, whatever strikes have been carried out initially, those were going to be the most organized, the most pre-planned, the most premeditated strikes with a list of targets to pick from. They have not turned the tide. They have not changed anything. They have not saved this regime. And now all of the military assets in the country that are in a position to maybe launch a follow-up wave of strikes, well, they don't know what to do at this point because there's no one to tell them what to do. And the only orders they are getting are, hey, lay down your arms, surrender peacefully, and you'll be given total immunity. That's the instruction they're being given. It's just not coming from their own government.
What do you think is the strategy there, General? It seems like it has stiffened the spine of those Gulf Arab allies, and they're actually getting the GCC together to say, almost if you attack one of us, you're talking.
Right, they attack their neighbors.
Almost like a NATO charter.
Are you having trouble trying to keep up with your professor? You've got to try Otter. Here's how it works.
Scripture. So Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 45, it says, therefore, hear ye the counsel of the Lord, that he have taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he have purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make the habitation desolate with them. All right, those Europeans, Esau, Edom. All right, the least of the flock. All right, drawing them into this war. All right, it says that noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved and the cry is heard among the nations. All right, because eventually, Babylon will be taken down within 1 hour. All right, like it tells us in the book of Revelations.
Yeah, I mean, I think their motivation there was to threaten this attack, and obviously they're following through it. Remember, they didn't want the Arab states supporting this attack in any way, shape, or form. And last time, some of them provided fighter jets, and many of them provided overflights, etc., of their territory. They didn't want any of that to be done. But the reality is those states, many of them have our defensive systems that they're using. And you're absolutely right. I mean, publicly, they were against any operation taking place against the Iranians. Why? Because they were trying to forestall an attack. Privately, they were all in.
That's very important. So what the general here tells us is that these Gulf allies that were caught up in Iran's retaliation strikes, publicly, they're saying, you know what, let's not do anything. Let's wait. He says that privately they were all in on this. He also makes the very important point that what do these guys use for their military hardware? They're using U.S. equipment that connects with U.S. satellites and requires U.S. contractors like Lockheed Martin to come and fix these things up and maintain them. So their entire defense industry is U.S.-based, while Iran, on the other hand, what are they using? They're using Russian and Chinese military hardware. They are aligned with our enemies, these countries that they've recently attacked, who said publicly, we don't want to see anything happen here. We don't think this is a good idea. Those guys are totally aligned with the U.S. anyways, and what that makes it look like is these retaliatory strikes in this first wave were like a revenge attack from a regime that knows it's on its way out. This is not the kind of attack that they would send out to try and accomplish anything other than a tit for tat, like, hey, we know you supported this against us, so take this while we're on our way out the door. That's what we're looking at here. And what we're not looking at is a coordinated response from a regime that has the ability to dig in and wage any kind of resistance to this and preserve itself. This is not going to be a long, drawn-out thing.
I mean, it could change the region dramatically.
This is 2nd Ezra chapter 13. I'm going to start at verse 25. It says, this is the meaning of the vision, whereas thou sawest a man coming up from the midst of the sea. The same is he, whom the Most High, the highest, have kept a great season, which by his own self shall deliver his creature, and he shall order them that are left behind. And whereas thou sawest that out of his mouth, you know what? Let me skip on down to verse 29. It says, behold, the days come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth, and he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth, and one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the signs shall happen, which I showed thee before. And then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as a man ascending, all right, Yahushai. And when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another. And an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as thou sawest them willing to come, and to overcome him by fighting, right? When Yahushua shows up, these militaries, they're going to try to fight against him. It says, but he shall stand upon the top of the Mount Zion, and Zion shall come and shall be showed to all men, being prepared, that's the elect, and build it, like as thou sawest the hill graven without hands. And this my son shall rebuke the wicked adventures of those nations, which for their wicked life are fallen into the tempest, and shall lay before them their evil thoughts and the torments wherewith they shall begin to be tormented, which are like unto a flame, and he shall destroy them without labor by the law, which is like unto fire. All right.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're in the very early stages of this, and a lot can happen. General, just talk for a second about the decision making here by President Trump and what that took in the face of naysayers in his own party and other places, and what it potentially means for other countries like China and Russia, and what it signals to the rest of the world.
Bad news for Russia.
Yes, well, I think there's been a lot of talk about what options and the rest of it, but the truth is there's only been one major plan, and that is the comprehensive plan that we're seeing unfolded with the Israelis and the Americans, who are the two most proven militaries in the world, actually working together in a common objective here. So that is one thing. The other thing is certainly people have been trying to talk the president out of doing this, worried about the day after, the ambiguity that surrounds that, the chaos in Iran as a result of it, the chaos in the region, the war will be expanded. The president looked at all of those negative things, just looking at the number of rockets and missiles they have. And if that's all you're going to look at, we're likely going to have a number of casualties as a result of it. We may still have some, to be sure. And you can come up with sort of a negative answer. He listened to all of that. But at the end of the day, I think his motivation was pretty simple. He saw that the regime was weak. But what was the regime doing? Recovering their missiles as rapidly as possible. They made a decision to recover their nuclear program.
Right. That's the thing. As these talks were taking place, what was the leadership doing? They were covering their nuclear sites with sand. They were trying to bury them and protect them and harden them against prying eyes and against any potential action that might try to take them out. Now, why would they do that if there was nothing in there that they hadn't been working on or hadn't been trying to revitalize in some capacity? Why are they still out there building offensive ballistic missiles while negotiating and saying, yes, we want to negotiate with the United States, but at the same time, we're never going to give up our missiles. No, we need those for defense, even though they're a long-range offensive weapon. Right. But what do you think is going to happen over the next few days and weeks? I will see you in the next video.
You and I were both live.
And I'm going to get one more scripture, and I'm going to end it on this. This is Jeremiah chapter 10. I'm going to start at verse 10. It says, but the Lord is the true God, Yahweh Shemel Shai. He is the living God, all right, the living power, and an everlasting King. At his wrath, the earth shall tremble, and the nations shall not be able to abide his indignation. Yahweh Tazah, this video served this purpose. Until the next time, I want to say, Shalom.